Here's a quick video, maybe not so quick actually. This is a video that's going to dive into goals in Microsoft Dynamics 365, which is not as intuitive or perhaps as simple as one might expect. So there's a lot to unpack with respect to goals, but we'll try to simplify it as much as we can. We'll start with the presentation of goals. The presentation of goals occurs through dashboards mainly, or charts. And there are a number of out-of-the-box charts that Microsoft has helpfully placed in the default solution, and we're going to go ahead and use those because they're just as good as any to show essential goal information. So let's look at this. There's a few different components with respect to what goals represent, and it is flexible, but we're going to go with the most default common components. So first of all, goals are usually about money, and they're represented in terms of what your target money is, your target sales. It could be opportunities that are closed, whatever, as one, with respect to what has actually happened and what might be happening at the moment. So what I mean by that is that if you look at this carefully, you'll see there's a number of dimensions here. One is how much. The other is when. So here we have goal for quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four. And the way the representation is shown is essentially your target for the period, which would be for Q1. We had a target of 300,000. Didn't do very well. We did 22,469. And how do I know that we did that? How am I using the past tense? Because it's actual. It's actual money. So that's the actual. Q2, we have even higher ambitions, $350,000. And Q2 did not do so well, although better, 109,000 actual money. And then here we have 74,000 that's in progress. And then, as you can see, we're sort of working our way up. And you can see here that goal 3, we had an actual of 183. We had slightly less ambition of 325, and we still have 76 outstanding. But as you can see, if all of everything from goal 3 closes, we're still not going to make our goal 3 quarter. So what we'll see here is, there's a target here of 375. And we've so far closed 352, so we're almost going to make it for Q4, it looks like. And we still have 35,000 outstanding, which means that it's in progress. And if we do it, we're gonna actually make our goals and exceed them. So that's the high-level goal overview of what the data is supposed to represent. And now we'll dig in a little bit more. So with respect to, let's get a little bit more detailed with respect to the time. So goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, goal 4 for across the quarters. So the way that this is interpreted, and of course you can decide this yourself, but actual money for goal 1 means that the opportunity closed as 1, which implies actual money, in quarter 1. Same thing here. Actual money in quarter 2. Actual. That's when these opportunities actually closed. In progress is estimated date. So we have estimated for Q2, 74,000 that is not closed, but it's estimated. We have 76 for Q3, and we have 35 that's supposed to close in progress. That means the opportunity is estimated to close, but it has not closed yet. And I should point out that, that's a choice. Opportunity, whether one or not, and the dates, they're all configurable. That's what the out-of-the-box goals are usually configured as. But it's important to remember that while the dashboards are provided by Microsoft, the goals themselves are not. So what do I mean by that? Well, the goals are data that you have to create yourself. Now over here on the left, I've got just a list of goals so we can dive right into them. But the point is that you have to create this data in order to populate this chart. That's true of everywhere else in CRM, but it's a little more complicated when it comes to actually configuring and creating goal records. So I could create a brand new goal, but I'm not going to do that yet. We're going to dive in and look at what a typical goal looks like. So let's look at, let's just look at goal Q4 right here, because it's looking very positive. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this goal. This is a record. in the database that I've created. It's a type goal, a type record goal. And so what we want to look at is just kind of break some of this down. So the first thing is you need a title, obviously. Parent goal is interesting, but we're not going to cover that too deeply. But the idea is that if you wanted to create a company-wide goal, that could be the parent for more specific goals underneath, and they could roll up to that company-wide goal. That's how the parent goal is designed to be used, where there's subordinate goals that roll their data up to the parent goal. But right now, this is just a goal, and there's no parent. And the next thing that's really important is the goal metric. So there are a number of different kinds of metrics. What we talked about, it's usually about money, and that's what revenue means. But you can configure other types of goal metrics, actually. You can see here that this is revenue, and the metric type is amount, and the amount data type is money. So there could also be things like counting, the number of, for instance. And we'll look at that when we create a goal shortly. So goal metric is really important. That's going to provide your left-hand axis, your y-axis on your chart. Time period. Time period is very important. Now, you can have a custom time period out of the box, or rather I should say by default. A lot of people just use fiscal periods, because if you set the organization fiscal period to be something like January 1st as the first quarter of the first fiscal period, then when you build these goals and you choose fiscal period, these dates will be automatically populated. So that's something that we've done, and that's what a lot of companies do. Of course, you can have a custom period. You can literally change this to custom period, and then you see the dates and the fiscal year doesn't come through. So, but we chose to do this. Fiscal year as well. If you don't do a custom period, you'd want to select the year, and you can see that Microsoft's looking ahead a little bit here. Targets. This is really important because back on the chart, this is going to be that dot that is the target, and you can set that to whatever you want. And you have to set that actually in order to have a meaningful chart. So you got to set it to something. You got to kind of know what you think you're going to sell within this time period in the confines, or rather in the query that's going to make up your goal. So is it for everybody? Is it for a certain type of opportunity, which we're going to discuss shortly? So that you have to have that number. Child goals, we discussed this briefly. So if this were a parent goal, we could add goals as children, which those metrics would roll up to inform this goal. And something you can play with and do. We're not going to do that in this relatively short video, but you can do that. Actuals. Okay. What this is primarily is a read-only section here that essentially is calculated when you recalculate, or when on a 24, I believe it's 24 hours or maybe every 12 hours, the system recalculates all the goals, or supposed to. If that doesn't happen in your experience, then you've definitely got to open up a ticket with Microsoft, because that's supposed to happen automatically. And you can also manually recalculate as well if you need to, because data changed and you don't want to wait 12 hours. But anyway, the point is, this is all calculated. This is calculated by the system by running down to what you said was the metric, and applying whatever rules you put to determine what actual means and what in progress means. So the system does that for you. Goal criteria is actually quite important, and this is maybe one of the most important aspects that is very often missed. So what this means, it's not blindingly clear, but what it means is that the records that you are going to use to participate in this calculation for this particular goal must match, that is, the owner of those records, maybe other opportunities, must match with the person who owns this goal. So that's very important to know who owns the goal. And you can see that the person who's doing this video right now is the goal owner. So when you are going to be creating goals, you must make sure that if you are using this goal criteria, that either the goal is owned by the person who's going to be viewing the chart that is their goal, or the opportunities must be owned. You have to match them up is really all I'm saying there. That has to be matched up. That's important. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that the roll-up query for the actual money for this particular goal is not set. Neither is the in-progress money set. So you might wonder, well, wait a minute, if there's no query set, then how does the system know what to roll up? And that's where it's sometimes difficult to catch that. You want to go back to the general, and you want to look at the goal metric. And we'll go back and look at that a little closer. So you see here that the name is revenue, and the amount is, that the amount is the metric type, and the data type is in fact money. However, click on roll-up fields for the goal metric, which you yourself will have to create, and you'll see that the source record type is opportunity, and the source field is actual revenue, and the source record type state is 1. And in terms of the date, actual close date and estimated, and this is in progress. So it's all right here. This is the key to the default behavior of a goal that you create, is identifying which entity in the system at the goal metric, and then what are the criteria by which you will roll up those fields. However, what you might notice here is that there's no logic. You can only identify. When I say logic, you'll see what I mean in a minute. There's no query, really. What it is I can say that, yeah, this is opportunity. I'm going to choose this field. I'm going to choose the state of the field, and I'm going to choose the date, and that's going to help me help inform the goal. But what if you wanted to further define the actual query? But what if you wanted to further define precisely which records are used? Not just the fact that it's the opportunities in the system, which opportunities? And therein lies the most important aspect of this. So I'm going to throw something up here that I've, certainly over the years we've heard people asking about. How do I create a monthly or a quarterly goal showing the target revenue and the actual revenue, but only from hot opportunities closed this month? Or maybe on a quarterly basis, only from hot opportunities closed this quarter. So why am I making this distinction? Well, first of all, I just want you to understand that this is just an example of a criteria, or a criterion to be specific. The criterion that I'm choosing is opportunities which have a rating of hot. And we're going to demonstrate how to do this, but I want you to understand that it can be done for any opportunity criteria that you have in your database. So, depending on your query, you can define precisely which opportunities. You could say opportunities where the potential customer is in the state of Iowa, or any kind of query that you can come up with. It doesn't matter, because it's going to be built through a query, and that's what I'm going to explain, and we'll go ahead and demonstrate in a moment. And where does that take place? This is where you have to remember that takes place all the way back here under goal criteria, and that's where you define a specific roll-up query that will limit the records, not just all the opportunities, and not just the opportunities that are owned by the goal owner, but very specifically in a roll-up query. So I'm going to show you that, this is a choice, and it's not much of a choice. It's either all, or it's either owned by goal owner. So you see you're somewhat limited here, but the point is that if you switch this to all, it would mean every single opportunity, and then you could further limit it with the roll-up query for actual and in progress. I'm not going to do that here on this, because I got a nice out-of-the-box setup right here. I'm not going to mess with that. What I'm going to do is show you how to create very precisely at least one of these two. Probably it's very trivial to, if I do monthly goal, I'm sure you'll figure out how to do quarterly and vice versa. So I'll probably do monthly, but we'll see. Point is this. This is how you do it. So let's go back to, I suppose, well, I guess we could just go to the goals. So let's just look at the goals in the system. And you saw that I presented that list of goals on the dashboard. But you can always click on goals and you can do it from here. So let's go ahead and go to all the active goals in the system. All right. What are we going to do? We're going to create a goal that shows all those things: target revenue, actual revenue from hot opportunities closed this month, and no other. Okay? So no other. So let's do that. So, and by the way, this implies, because it's target versus actual, that we're not going to consider in progress money. We're only going to consider actual money. So you're not going to see, if I'm just going to preface this, explain it beforehand, you're actually not going to see let's go back to this. You're not going to see an orange bar because we're only going to be comparing actual to target, right? Because that's what this implies. Now, we could just as well add the in progress in, but that's not what we're going to do. We're going to make it a little bit more custom. So let's go through that process. And you can see this is the default is my goals. I'm going to go ahead and pin all goals so I see all goals all the time. And I'm just going to create a goal. Simple enough. I'm going to do it for this month too. So I'm going to say target versus actual for this month. Well, actually, you know what? I'll just go for November 2020. All right, parent goal, none. Goal metric, let's be careful. If I just grab revenue, and we can do that, we'll look at it. Goal owner, it should be me. And obviously this is important, so it doesn't have to be, it can be anybody you want, but I want it to be me because I own the data in the system right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and click save really quickly just to get something in here. So I'm going to show you what somebody has already configured named revenue, and let's look very carefully at this. We can see revenue amount money. We looked at it before, and we can see that there's both in progress and actual. I don't want that. I don't want that. What does that mean? It means I don't want to use that one. So that's revenue, which is a very broad term. I'm going to close this for a minute, and I'm going to create a new goal metric that is sort of custom. I'm going to call this actual revenue only. So it's amount, it's money, but the roll-up fields, and actually I should point out that you have to click save in order to go further than this. So you save this. So now I'm going to go to roll-up fields, and now I'm going to add a roll-up field. So I have this roll-up field as part of the criteria, and I'm going to go with actual. And I'm going to go what type? Well, we definitely want to go with opportunity because that's how we're doing. But you can see here, you could do pretty much anything that's in the system, which makes goals, kind of blows it wide open in terms of how you can use goals. But opportunity, source field, actual revenue, very important. Source record type state, 1. That means 1 opportunity. See, I'm defining this right now in the roll-up field, which is in the selection criteria. And then source record type status, same thing. It's trivial, but important. And then specify the date field that determines for the goal period that records will roll into. And of course, that would be the actual close date. Okay, save and close that. So I've got my goal metric. And now I want to go back to this. And I don't want to use revenue. No. I want to use the one that I just built, which is actual revenue only. Okay, so I've already started. Even before I create a roll-up query, I've already started to modify and make somewhat of a custom goal here. So I'm doing that. So now, because we're doing November, let's go to time period, and we're going to do a custom period, and that custom period is going to be from November 1st to November 30th in 2020. So this is target versus actual for November. I'm going to click save. All right, target. I have no idea what I'm doing this month, so I'm just going to go, I don't know, let's go 35,000. Let's be, I don't know, maybe Not so ambitious as some of these other goals I've seen. Child goals, irrelevant because we're not doing that. We're not being a parent of anything. Actuals, there's nothing to see here yet because we're not going to recalculate now because we're not quite done. We're going to go to goal criteria. We want to keep this to no, of course. Owned by goal owner is fine with me right now. But I'm going to go ahead and set it to all. But I am going to then create a specific query about hot opportunities. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. And I'm going to click new rollup query because there are no rollup queries in the system. And I'm going to say hot ops. Okay. Entity type, certainly opportunities. Easy, easy, easy. Not so fast. Opportunity. Okay. Now we're going to save this, but the point is I haven't actually created my query yet, and this is my opportunity to create that query. So let's add the query. Let's add a row. And you'll see that because I chose the opportunity, you'll see some fields come up here. And what I want is I want rating because that's where hot is in my system. That's out of the box too. Rating equals hot. That's about it. Now, one thing is nice. I'm going to click save. One thing that's nice is you can actually see if there's any. And there is. I won some. Yay. Look, looking pretty good. Okay. All right. I feel pretty good about this. So I've got my roll-up query. Let's save and close that. All right. And I don't have it set yet, but I need to do that. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to grab hot ops for my roll-up query. Very important. I feel like I have a lot of information here, and I've got some actual here, and I've got participating records, and I've got my filter set. So I really feel like I'm probably ready to go ahead and recalculate this. And if I recalculate this, it says it'll take some time, but it won't because I have so little data in here. I should be able to go to actuals and see some information, and I do. Well, that's a big amount. I was very conservative with my goal. But the point is that now I've got this goal, right? And I've built it, and now I guess I can go over to goals and see it. First of all, there it is. I've actually got data in there. Status, reason, open, it's all set. There's no, it's a custom period. So if you wanted to, this is the default out of the box view. You could add that start finish date here so you'd know what you were doing if you did such a thing. Anyway, point is this is let's go now to the dashboard and let's see. I'm not sure. Yeah, there it is. Pretty good. So it populated my my chart automatically just because the chart is showing all goals. And as you can see here, obviously way conservative, but I estimated that this month I would close $35,000 worth of business, and I in fact closed a lot more than that, $262,000. Let's go to opportunities real quick so that you can see sort of the underlying data. And I'm just going to go ahead and look at all the opportunities, and we can just kind of hunt for for what happened here. So let's use newest to oldest. So you can see that these opportunities that were won with these really very large amounts contributed to the chart, and shows exactly why why discrepancy between target and actual occurred. So, okay, I hope this helps you understand how goals work and some of the nuances in terms of defining very specific queries in order to present just what you want to see on your goal charts.